If guests came over to your place and you're trying to make an impression, would you put sushi on a paper plate? So I was like, what?
She knows you well. She knows you well.
So I was like, I don't understand what you mean. She's like, you spend so much time coming up with these ideas and making the stuff and crafting it. Why would you package it and go and introduce it to people overseas?
I'm Jason Goliath.
And I'm Nicholas Goliath.
And this is a new podcast called The Happiness Economy, where we try and unpack, figure out, investigate, interrogate, I think holistically understand what is happiness even.
What is it to you? What is it to me? Is it different? Is it the same? What do you do to chase your happiness? Just chase it. We want to chat to people who we believe have found their happiness or are on the way to finding their happiness and find out what it is that makes them happy.
So, if you're happy, we're happy. The Happiness Economy with Nicholas and Jason Goliath. Tell her what you must.
Ladies and gents, welcome to...
No, man, that's not
we're going to call it...
That's a weird... Like,
Yeah, you also spoke from a
hernia
place.
Okay,
You spoke from a hernia voice.
Ladies and gents,
That's
welcome
too
to the
low.
happiness...
yeah, it's a little bit too low.
Split the difference between the two energies.
Ladies and gents, welcome to the happiness economy.
Would you like to buy this microphone? No. This is like we're going to spend like 30 minutes.
But it's cool. Okay,
trying to
so
figure
this is the happiness economy. That's what we're trying to say. This is our guest, Donovan Goliath. That's Jason Goliath, the host, and me also.
That's a
Nicholas
great
Goliath.
intro. You don't love about that intro? It's real.
Yeah,
It's a
and it
real
also
intro. You're not
felt
trying.
like, it's quite like how when Nick speaks, there's 10% threat at any point.
Yeah.
There's
But
at any
it's
point.
this.
Go and be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go and be happy.
Or
I'm going to
else
break
you
things now.
won't.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go and chase
Thank you
your
for watching
happiness.
this intro.
Don't chase your
Now
happiness
please watch
or
the rest
else.
of this. Guys, I've got work to do.
Or
Yeah,
else.
you late for a meeting.
I'm late. I've got to
Don't do
leave.
your thing.
The people
Don't
are
do your
standing
thing.
in
Get out
the
there. They're
door.
waiting for you.
Why?
Get out.
Don's going to
Get
go
out
because
there.
he has
Shot,
to go
shot,
and make
shot.
more
Shot,
money
shot,
to
shot,
buy
shot,
more
shot,
nice
shot. We missed it.
Love you.
Thank you. Bye. Cheers.
Love
Which
you,
is the mic?
Don.
This is a bye,
Love
guys.
you, Don.
Cheers.
This is the Happiness Economy with Nicholas and Jason Goliath. Our guest was Donovan.
He's happy. I'm
Very happy. Very.
How this made you happy?
Yeah, it made me a bit broody, if I'm honest. Was your Bali as conceited as you are when he was young? Because you guys look the same. So was he also that smarked his looks?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. There's I'm going to find that picture where he's still had his young afro. He's got this tight shirt on, but you see him, looking. You know when you're like looking, you're pretending like the camera isn't on you.
But you know very
I'm
well.
Showing off a jawline here, Bali.
Because it's like your Bali is so humble to picture him with like Donovan level swag is like, I mean, it's possible, but it's
No,
like
bruh, the Bali, and he'll make sure he tells you. As you know, there was a time when I was super fit.
yeah, 6 packs and what.
Couldn't touch me.
That sounds exactly like your Bali.
The funniest,
Exactly like you,
yes,
but in Bali version.
yes. Because my funniest are twofold. It's every single time. So Don and I land in Cape Town, and as you walk, they have all those posters, not posters, billboards, like as in that long corridor that leads to the outside area.
Yeah, it's all diamonds.
Then every time we'll be having the most serious conversation about, hey, we're on our way to the ski, what car we're renting, did you bring your shoes and your belt? Then Don will stop and point. There was like a JPG, like a Jean Paul, or one of those where there's with the unnecessary body looking perfect coming out the water. Then Don will always just stop and say, Jason, these O's, they never pay me for my likeness. They're always using my body. They comp this man's face onto my body. They do it.
The best thing is how you lose pluck. You're like,
every time. Every time.
did not need you to stop me for this rubbish.
And also a person that can message me. So like, I'll go... Like, we always go. We got a gig together. Then we go, hey, what are you wearing? Just so that we can coordinate.
Yeah.
Then I go, I say, what's your move for tonight? Then he'll say, hey, I'm going to wear my blue suit, whatever. But you know what? I think you must hit. And then when you read that, you know what? You must hit.
Yeah.
Then you know bullshit is about to come.
The
Then it's
picture.
always like, why don't you hit? your grey tracksuit with your brown shoe. You know how hundreds. Do you know how hundreds? But you must tuck
Because
your
he wants
shirt.
to outshine.
You
He wants
must
to be the
tuck your
best.
shirt. You have to tuck your
Formal
shirt
shirt. Formal shirt.
in. You have to tuck your shirt in. You must make sure that you're looking cute. No, always the O that wants to outshine. Was it always that?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I never ever want to outshine. It's not.
No, because I mean, the diamond from Transkei was a nickname that you had for a while. You're not even the fairest person to
I think
come
it's
out of
very funny.
Umtata. The diamond from Transkei. Now you want to shine like a diamond.
No, never always wanted to shine.
Just
Getting-
happened.
There's a lot of miscommunication
Ah.
that's happening here, first of all, just to make things clear. I think it's all part of the fun, you know, to not take things so seriously. Ironically,
Yes.
not take it
Yes.
so seriously,
Yes.
but to go, let me plant this seed in your head and actually see if it's going to affect you.
See what's
Just
gonna happen.
let me see what's going to happen. If you are going to go, hey, okay, maybe I can pull off this tracksuit pants, because then I'll just tune it's a smart casual. You check what's it's best of both worlds.
So Don and I go to, I can't even remember what it was. One of those like an after party of something. We didn't go to the main event. We go to the after party at some club, Santon Vibes. And Don is bragging about this leather jacket that he's
gonna rock.
Because you know when he pulls out a piece like this shirt, he's gonna tell us something about this Denham and how it's special, and more especially comes with a black leather jacket. So I know we too cool for school, always blow me on the outskirts. So we blow me against like a face brick wall for most of the night. For most of the night. Don is bragging about this leather jacket. Eventually turns around, the entire jacket is shredded. Just from leaning against the face brick wall. This leather jacket completely shredded.
Because Don likes those one of a kind, must go and search
Yes.
deep in the somewhere.
You know where I
Yes.
bought that jacket?
Let's
Wait.
hear.
In a thrift store in Paris. Only to
They
come
robbed you in
and
francs.
let it get shredded by. You know, I forgot about that.
Yes.
Whoa, that was awful.
No, hilarious. So
Wow.
it's like, you know, I look at all of those moments, and I think when we first started hanging, I mean, I've always, you know, been very particular about the way I present myself. You know, my vrouw knows I'm not going to the shops looking shabby. You know
Yeah.
Because I'm always like, I'm already fat. I can't be fat and untidy. It's always been my basic rule. Like, you guys have luxuries. You can wear your Plascon t-shirt and feel cute. I've got
Because that's my life. I love underdressing and just being comfortable.
We know.
Yeah.
We know, but you also love being underestimated.
Oh, it's wonderful.
is something like, you love when people think that you have a past stealing cars. And,
Yes.
And
They
things.
think I have a
That's so
present
clever.
stealing
And
cars.
then- yeah.
Oh, nice.
Future.
Yes.
You never know your worst.
We'll see
your
how this
worst-
comedy thing goes.
your worst case scenario. So, like, one of the things that we had in common was hating dying on stage. Like,
Yeah.
I think as Goliath and Goliath, one of the things we share, other than the passion for stand-up, but it was definitely, we hate a terrible performance. And I think compared to a lot of artists, we also serve the audience in a very different way. Like, you know, for us, it's, if you've paid for a ticket, we can't come and do new stuff only. We have to amaze you. We have to plant. And that was up until COVID. All of us were very, very sensitive. And then we did, I think it was our first in-person gig, where all three of us were together. It was for one of the banks in Fairland. I'll give you a small shout out.
I remember that.
And I remember that day where, and I can't remember what the lineup was, but I think I was hosting, and then you went, and then Don went, or Don went.
I
and
went
then
first,
you
yeah.
went. Yeah, and it was like the first time back. We were green. Don was playing with that idea of, you know, is stand-up still where he's at, because, you know, lockdown had brought a whole lot of creativity, which I think we'll get into. And you and I smashed, had a great time. and for some reason you didn't have a great time.
No, I
like,
didn't.
Died, like
Yeah.
proper, like, and it was one of those awkward ones. Because also, it's okay to die if the room is hard and everybody's dying, but if 2 of the 3 are smashing, and the last one is dying, it's heavy. And one of the beautiful things about the relationship is I think we've always tried to support each other and think about when somebody's not feeling like send a message of support. So I sent Don a message that evening going, hey bruh, don't take it to heart. Don't think about it. You were fine today. Don't be in your head. You're going to be okay. And I want to read you what his reply is. So I don't know if you know this.
How does he even?
No. So the reason I have it is when you sent it to me, it was so profound. And I've got a little, like a list of things on my notes that's pinned at the top that says, read every day. And it's just a couple of affirmations, have fun, be fearless. That's bravery, doing something despite the fear. A whole lot of things that I've written. Remember who you are. Remember to have fun. Just the things that you should tell yourself before going on. And I actually added this to my list of things to read every day because Don's reply came a bit later because he was busy with nappies and bath time and stuff.
Yeah,
So it came a bit
Yes.
later. But his reply was, and I'm going to read it to you, he said, brah, strangely enough, that type of stuff doesn't affect me anymore. Malaiti has taught me that nothing can be perfect no matter how hard I try. That was today's small hiccup at that time. Tomorrow's a new day to shine, grow, and learn. And because we love each other, he actually put a heart emoji afterwards.
Oh.
And so firstly, I was like surprised at that's where you're at. And then I felt bad that I'm not there. Like why am I thinking about it like that and not appreciating it the way you appreciate it? And I feel like that's the first thing I wanted to ask you is, even as one of your closest friends, I didn't see those little changes in your your confidence and your security within yourself, but also your ability to stop letting insignificant things affect you deeply. So let's start there. What happened?
Taken me a long time to get to that point and to actually type a message like that. Growing up, I guess I was the left field different kid doing the odd things that nobody could really understand.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I had a supportive family who just kind of let me go ahead and do my thing. And when I was younger, where there was no real responsibility, no real repercussions to what I was doing. I was just kind of exploring and having fun, with art, with design, with a music career, just trying things that I thought were really, really cool. And then, I get a job, and the job that I had, it was such a big agency, right, with big, serious clients.
This is Network BBDO.
I quickly learned that there's absolutely no room for error, right? I had a mentor, and I'll give her a huge shout out because she's played a very significant role in my life. Her name is Mariana O'Kelly, right? Easily one of the best, actually the best art director in the world, in my opinion.
Okay,
right?
Mariana O'Kelly, shout out.
Sure. And now the global ECD, I think, of Ogilvy, global, huge deal.
Mariana don't miss debit orders.
No.
She's okay.
The most thorough, most pedantic person I've ever come across. And I'll never forget, it was award season and I was new, right? So as the new person, she comes and she picks me up off my my chair. I'm working. I've got deadlines here. I've got things that I'm designing forecourt posters for a petrol station, and it's honest work.
Yeah, but
that's what I'll say.
Yeah.
But I'm doing it, and I'm just excited to be here, And she's like, "Sorry, man, I need your help. It's awards coming up. I need you to mount some of my work." So I go, "Oh, cool." Yeah, but I'm also like, "Oh, it's Mariana." You don't. Mariana's got her presence here. She's the boss. And there's this foam board, like massive pieces of foam board, which are incredibly expensive. There's the workstation, which has to be cleaned. So all remnants of whoever was there before, that must be cleared. No spray glue, nothing. When you get an NT cutter, break off that first one because I want the sharpest blade here to cut with. And then she sits there and she goes, "Cool, I've printed 10 of these. Go." Hey, so I'm like, cool. I cut. I'm like halfway in. Stop. Throw that piece away. See that little frayed edge there? Once we mount it, there's like one piece that's going to stick out. It's not going to work. So I'm like,
throw it away, not shave it.
Throw it away. So I'm like, next one, boom, in. And it just kept going. And then she'd tell me, cool, now I've done like 2. Now we're about to start the next one. And she lets me cut. And she goes, you cool to cut with that blade? You know, I haven't broken the blade off yet. So I'm like, no, it's still fine. Is it? Do you see how effortless the first one was? Why are you putting more pressure and struggling now? It's so close to your finger. If that thing jumps off, it's going to cut it. Then it's going to spray on this board.
Now I'm not worried about your finger, but you're going to ruin my work.
You're going to ruin the work here. Phew, dude, and a small part of me is going,
so why don't you just do it yourself?
What's wrong? And then, because I kept making so many mistakes, she kept coming to get me. There's other people there that are new. There's people like who've just come in.
Yeah.
No, you come here, and we've got this thing. I need it mounted. I need this, and that, and then I need to take it there, and then I need you to do this. I'm like, what is this? What part of the game is this? It took me so long to realize what she was doing, because she came to me one day and she explained it to me. And she said to me, if guests came over to your place and you're trying to make an impression, would you put sushi on a paper plate? So I was like, what?
She knows you well. She knows you well.
So I was like, I don't understand what you mean. She's like, you spend so much time coming up with these ideas and making the stuff and crafting it. Why would you package it and go and introduce it to people overseas and spend money looking like this? The packaging should be as good as the piece, don't you think? In fact, sometimes the packaging will elevate the piece. So this idea of perfectionism just got instilled in me.
Yeah.
And you take it on, and it's a great thing, especially when you're working in a big agency and there's money involved.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, there's so many times when I've been thrown into a boardroom where you've got to convince the CEO to hand over 20 million rand to execute your crazy idea that you think is going to be great. But that level of detail you put into that presentation, every single point is checked.
Yeah.
So when you go in, there is nothing they can hit you with because you've answered every question they can throw at you.
Yeah.
And that stays with you, right? And then the flip side of it, because you live in this world where things have to be so perfect, the second it doesn't go your way, you punish yourself, man. And comedy, it took me such a long time to unlearn that you can't be a perfectionist on stage. And in the early stages, when a gag didn't go so well or something didn't, it would like bother me quite a bit.
You'd get angry.
Yeah, man.
You'd have a different energy after a performance when it didn't go well.
Yeah, and you doubt yourself, and I go, no, man, this is me. Like, this is what I do. Like, I write stuff, and this is funny. Like, I know it is. And you have to really pull yourself back and go, the immediacy of this particular medium is not like the other one.
Yeah.
This one is very organic. This one, it happens, you get your yes or no answer right now.
The audience will tell you whether they like you or not now.
So you have to make that shift very, very quickly. Then, fast forward to that moment.
Yeah.
And why that moment stopped bothering me is because I look at my daughter the day she was born and I go, okay, so that's perfectionism in my eyes. This is something I could never beat. This is perfect.
And
what I've ever made in my
healthy
life.
child, my child.
Yeah, healthy child, yes, my child. I see myself in this person, and then it all comes hitting you at the same time when you go, nothing else matters here. Actually, it all comes down to a single moment, the most human moment of all time. Right? And everything that you've created in your head and everything that you thought was incredible that you were trying to sell to a whole bunch of people and kind of make them move with you, take that away, it's still not going to, it'll never compete. No, nothing will match, And that was such a relief, to just go, wow, okay, so I can just be me. You don't need to put a facade on and put on this armor every single time. And the moment that armor gets pierced, you really feel like you've physically been
like you've
been
lost.
hit. Like you've lost now. Like it's over for you. Because this person doesn't judge you either.
No,
they don't
They're
care.
just happy for you to be there. You know what I'm saying? But the beautiful thing about that moment is it also reignites this special thing in you where you go, I have this responsibility now. How do I relook and reshape my life and start doing things that are going to benefit this person, but also benefit me as well, And look, I think I'm also one of those people, for as long as I've been creating things, I've never been able just to stick to one thing for too long, because I'm too curious about the world, too curious about storytelling, I'm too curious about making things and finding new ways to make things, So when we were in like the heart of comedy, like we were full on, like going for it. This was it. This was a thing that we were really trying to build, I mean, me, I would be shooting things on the side, just for fun, right? It wasn't going anywhere. It was just for fun. But that voice inside of me still wanted to keep making things as much as possible. But you can't juggle both, Comedy on its own is incredibly difficult to maintain it. Jokes aside, just like building a brand for yourself, building a community. I don't want to say audience, a community for yourself, is an incredibly difficult task. And this thing changes every single time because you're always competing with people all the time, So for me, and I'm jumping the gun quite a bit. Because this conversation is quite organic. Lockdown happens, we can't perform anymore. And I then start to reactivate who I really am.
So that's, and sorry to cut you there, but that's the thing that I want to say. Like, because a lot of people have been asking me every time they see us out, they ask, when is Don coming back to the stage? When is he going to do the things? And, my answer...
After they've told us how amazing we are. And then they go, what's that other one's name again? What's the other?
I think I saw him at that one gig where he didn't do so well.
It was in Finland. So my answer to them is always, I can't even talk to you about coming back to the stage because I don't see the purpose of having you back on stage. Because for me, like you say, you like doing a lot of things. So I feel like comedy, as much as it was a passion during that phase, I don't think that you have the same passion for comedy that Jay has, that I have. It's different. Your passion is in the creation of the thing. And I think that because you were good at comedy, you were passionate in that time about comedy. So when lockdown happened and you and Davina started doing all the stuff online, that for me was when I realized you're not coming back. I think I knew before you knew that you're not coming back to the stage. Because
what made you know? What did you notice that was different?
So what I noticed, because we weren't seeing each other face to face, we were doing the online thing, but just the amount of stuff Don and Davina were coming out with, the quality of the stuff that they were putting out, I was like, this is what I know Don. From the days of creating the posters, the first Wednesday posters, the brand, the logo, that for me is where I feel your passion is. That's what and like you're saying now, you love creating. So yes, creating on stage, doing the comedy, that's a different thing. But I think your passion comes more from putting a thing out in the world and letting it slowly filter and letting people slowly see how fucking great you are.
He also likes people to go, wow.
Yes, because everything that came out, you just go, jeepers, that's genius. Why I have a gown, I have sloffies. Why didn't I take the picture and make the thing? So and look, I could be wrong, but I just, like, for me personally, I think that I keep telling people that you are as happy now, if not happier, than you were on stage, and you are doing well. I always say, like, it's different if you're on the corner doing drugs, then I must come and talk to you.
Yes.
But you are doing extremely well in your life.
You're far more handsome post-COVID than before. In PC, you were cute. Post-COVID, I don't know. So question for Nicholas before you answer.
Yeah.
So in line with what Don speaks about in terms of his perception of perfection, I feel like his work is more perfect now. So in a space where he's not putting himself under pressure to be perfect, and we know how perfect everything had to be before. When I watch the content, when I see the designs, and everything that you're touching at the moment, it seems to be more perfect. Like, the quality of the stuff is improved, because I don't want the perception of you to be, he doesn't really care anymore. He's dropped his personal standards anymore. So I don't understand that relationship between a perfectionist putting out stuff that he deemed to be perfect, and then understanding what true perfection is. You have a baby and you go, nothing is more important to this moment. Yet the content that follows that moment is, even in my mind, more perfect than the stuff before. So unpack that relationship for me, because I don't understand how you can go from perfection is the standard and then put out a better product when you go, no, actually, I'm just going to do it, and when I'm happy with it, put it out there and not overthink it.
I love that you started with this is a question for Nick.
Yeah, but I'm no. But my question. My question was, do you agree? My question was, do you agree?
So I do agree, and before your answer,
Yeah.
I think like we often discuss how everything we've done has led us to where we are, and with the lessons we've
Say your
learned.
sentence.
What?
Right things.
No. That's not
For
even
the right reasons.
Yeah, so we do the right things for the right reasons. But this is not so much that as I worked in a call center for 9 years.
Yeah.
Which means when I get on stage, the audience doesn't scare me.
Yeah.
Because I spoke to 300 people
can
a
cold
day
call, you can
who
face
didn't
it.
want
Listen.
to speak to me. You know what I'm saying?
Listen.
So
Yeah.
then I feel like the reason the culmination or the post-COVID thing is so great is because the perfectionist learned that through comedy, learned that there's no perfection. You can't create, so then you let go of the want to be a perfectionist and you just make what you want to make and put it out and not care what the world thinks, and then that's actually what makes it perfect.
That's very interesting, that point, because I do care.
A lot.
In fact, I was telling
Yes.
somebody just the other day, you'd be very surprised at how many posts I delete,
Yeah.
because I expect people to take it in a certain way.
Yeah.
And one mustn't get confused and think I'm expecting a certain number of likes, because nothing to do with that. If I put something out and I expect a reaction from people, like how they're going to respond to
Yeah.
it, and they actually don't react to it and move in a different direction, and I go, oh, it's not it. Let me take it down and rethink it.
Now
right?
that's an interesting thing already.
Yes.
The fact that you can take something down as an
Easily.
artist.
Easily, because I've learned, and this comes from consistently putting things out all the time, because I'm learning while this is happening, by
Yeah.
the way, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite phrases is, I'm really just trying to be fluent in the vernacular of the internet, because it's such a difficult thing to understand. We think it's simple,
No.
right? But it's
No, we
not.
don't.
There are many dynamics,
Yeah.
right, to it. And to cut through and create a single voice that whatever you put out, people know exactly what you're trying to say,
Yeah.
even though you haven't said it yet,
Yeah.
right? So I'm going back to what Nicholas is saying, and I guess the perfection thing, and I'm quite humbled by the fact that you think a lot of the stuff that I put out is perfect, because what you won't, and now that I've told you, you might look at it differently, because I forced myself to actually unlearn and actually make it as lo-fi as I possibly can,
Yeah.
right? So I'm trying my best not to overthink the cinematography, for example, not to overthink the whatever it is, but rather apply the, I guess, perfectionism to just the storytelling. Just the storytelling. Because if the storytelling is tight,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter visually how I show it to you. It's always going to land. Where in the world that I played in before, granted, yes, storytelling was
the
important.
visuals were
Yes,
paramount, 'cause
because
that's
you're
what you
making
studied, the
yes,
visuals.
and you're making TV, for example.
Yeah.
Right? People are spending millions to make this. You can't just throw anything out there. Now it's on me, but also what happens on my phone versus what happens in the cinema versus what happens on a billboard versus what happens on a TV. That's a very different thing. You can be forgiven for what happens here, right?
Yeah.
And I had to learn very quickly that, sometimes I sit and I brainstorm things, and if you go through and unpack all the content I've made in the last year and a half, almost every single one relies on an incredibly relatable truth
Yeah.
that's just packaged differently. And what I'm doing now and why I've gone this route is because a mantra that I've always tried to live by is, I'm just trying to write the book that I want to read. I trawl the internet as much as possible looking for things that I can enjoy,
Yeah.
that aren't noise, that aren't mindless saturation. It's just noise, because we all have access to these tools. There was a time when it was quite a privileged thing to be able
For
to
sure.
go onto YouTube or whatever it is, but now we all have access, and as a result, everybody is able to just throw things out, So to filter through all of this and find the things that you're looking for, you have to be so intentional with it, which I've really forced myself to do. When I studied in my first year, for example, studying graphic design, I had no idea what it really was. So I spent...
Did you have a computer at home when you started studying graphic?
No.
Okay.
No,
No
not
to
at all.
make the graphics.
There was
Yeah.
a computer at home, but it was used for solitaire
Weird.
and Word,
Weird.
but no graphic.
Yeah.
I didn't know what this was, man. So I spent my first year, pretty much all of it, in the library, going through books, and that's where I found my style and my favorite artists. So my style, essentially, I love minimalism. I love simplicity. I love the beauty in taking something so dead obvious. It's been there in front of you all along, but finding a little detail in there that I can unpack and tell a big story out of it, like my Chappie skag, for
Yeah.
example. It's
Yeah.
the same thing with comedy. It's always just relatable truths,
Yeah.
simple things, because I don't like this idea. And this is my advertising training. If you have to write a 30-second TV ad, for example, you have 30 seconds to tell the story, make your point, and make people remember what that product was
100%.
about. It's a great skill to have, especially when social media comes along, because social media relies on time and attention. You're competing all the time.
We've also seen a lot of ads where the story is greater than the product.
Or vice
so
versa.
We remember the storyline
The
of an
ad,
ad,
but
but we
no
can't
idea
remember
who the
what they were
product- yeah.
advertising.
Exactly. So there's that fine line, and to learn that art of being able to tell stories and package things and, and build it. And a lot of the stuff I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to create shareable content. There was a time where, and I look at it, I go back, I look at a lot of the stuff and I go, okay, this is for me and people will like it because it's cool and it's slick and whatever. But I'm like, no, but I actually want to put something out that you want to share with your people, because I want your people to think that you're hilarious for sharing it. You see, it's not about me anymore.
But I accept. I like that. No, I like that. It's not about me. To bring it back to the topic, maybe the subject. How so Nick and I often speak about the ingredients for happiness. And I think the thing that comes up for us repetitively is, at the top of the list is acceptance. Second to that is being able to exist in a space of gratitude. So from an acceptance point of view, I can only imagine that it must have been incredibly difficult to accept that in order to do what your gut is telling you is meant for you to do, in terms of the content creation you discovered during lockdown, and then to not do what the world and your fans and your followers are expecting you to do, in terms of just stand up and continuing to deliver in the conventional way that they were used to. At some point, I believe there has to be an acceptance of self. So you've got to accept that this is me. You've got to accept that this is what I want to do. And what was your acceptance journey, and how did that translate into your happiness before and after that journey?
It's a very good question. Because I think it's something that, every single human being walking this planet, is fighting with all the time, until you get to that point when you go, this is me. I think it goes back to
this is me, and not what people think I should be.
Yes.
Or what I look at other people doing and think I should be. This is actually me.
Yes. And very difficult in this day and age with so many... when I say influencers, I don't mean actual people. I mean influencers when it comes to TV and whatever else throwing at
but
you.
Influencers.
Yes.
Influencers.
Dictating and saying in order to be successful, for example, and make a lot of money, you mustn't sleep.
5 a.m. club.
Yes, all of that.
Yeah.
And then you start to accept it and you realize, oh my gosh, man, I'm burning out. Case in point.
Yeah.
I actually need to sleep. You can't forfeit the thing that you naturally are designed
This
to
is the
do.
same brother that says, I struggle so to sleep.
And I do.
And also, that falls asleep on your marks, it said snore. First breath of sleep is a snore.
My father is the only bit of advice that my father kept hammering into my head was just be yourself, you know. And I'm 40 now, and it's taken me maybe only about 3 years ago. 3 years ago,
Yeah.
where I really went, you know, actually, this is who I really am. I'm the person who is, like I mentioned earlier on, curious about the world and curious about storytelling, who finds interest in anything that, you know, is whatever the medium. It could be fashion, it could be sneakers, it could be whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, you
Yeah.
know. If it's told in a very different way, you've got my attention,
Yeah.
because I want to know how you got there. That's why I'm such a big fan of the process as well, because it's something I've struggled
Yeah.
with, my own process, you know. And it takes a lot off your shoulders, but then it also starts to open your mind to a lot of other opportunities, you know, where, you know, you feel like you've hit a reset button. And I think that's where the happiness kicks in, you know, where, and I always tell people, you know, when they go, but how could you leave a career in comedy? You know,
Yeah.
you're building a nice audience. We enjoy
Yeah.
seeing you. And I
You're
go,
doing so well.
yes. And this, I had the same argument with when I left my job in advertising.
Yeah, but
same
you're doing
thing.
so well.
Why would you do this? I'm like, well, that's how the world is set up, isn't it? Like you need to either have a 9 to 5, or you need to establish this, and that's going to be you forever. But not all of us are built that way, you know.
Yeah.
Some of us have many things that we've always wanted to try and promised ourselves that we would try, and that's what we do. There is no real formula, you know, for this kind of thing. And you know, the transition, and when I say to people, what I like now is I feel like for the first time I actually don't compete. You know, 'cause that's the
'Cause
hard thing
nobody can
about
do
comedy.
what you do, Donovan.
Comedy, a lot of people can do what I do.
They can't. Not the way you do what you
But
do.
you know what it is, Nick? And I was chatting to somebody the other day about, we had a group discussion actually about,
You have other groups
yes, this
No,
that
Dennis
you have
Wimmer-
discussions with?
multiple groups.
Multiple groups.
Many groups.
The influence.
Where we were speaking about finding your voice, finding your style,
Yeah.
right? So within what I do right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
and I said, you know, you can't find your voice if you don't use your voice,
Yeah.
right? So you have to keep going and keep making,
Yeah.
and that's why I've been churning out as much as possible. And where this discussion led was, you know, originality and how do you become a standout person? How do you become a person that, you know, off the bat people know that that's you? And I go, well, there's nothing that's really original. We're all inspired by things.
Something, yeah.
But the art comes from, and I guess the originality comes from, being able to identify your references and the things that you like and take all of those things. Dude, you know how many times I sit and I go back and I remember what were the things that made me excited when I walked into that library in my first year,
Yeah.
right? And there's a very famous...
To me, it was nothing. Walking to the library, there's nothing exciting.
In those years in Umtata, you only had old U magazines. You know what I mean? That was the only literature you could get your hands on.
from the doctor's office or the dentist, You Magazine and Roy Rosa.
But you see, that also comes back to like the cost of the thing. Like for somebody who had no computer for design at home, to then go and study design, you really have to want the thing to go, this is the cost. I've got to spend a year sitting in the library, going through the books, doing the work, learning,
Yes.
researching. And I think that's a thing that a lot of people don't see. They see you online now, they see you on stage,
Yeah.
and they see this great, successful advertising guru, you know, and they don't see the work and the effort that's gone into it. And I think that comes as part of the acceptance, is knowing that that's what you want to do. That's what it's going to cost.
But you know what?
Is the cost not only that, but also not wanting to disappoint your dad, because you understand what this exercise is costing him, and how
that.
fortunate you are because of, based on everybody else that you went to school with, where they're going to study, what opportunities they're getting. So there's that pressure surely as well that motivates you.
That is the pressure, but that's not the main pressure,
Yeah.
because that's the obvious answer,
Yeah.
right? For me, and to this day, why I can make something out of nothing, because that's what I know. the adversity
Yeah.
and restriction actually made me stronger, right? Not having the tools and not having the things that everybody else had forced me to be creative, because you become creative with what you have. And that's where the originality kicks in, you know? And that's the beauty of it. And I really have to force myself, you know, because I've become, you know, I guess, fortunate enough to afford whatever I want. You know, I can have this camera and that camera and whatever else, but I force myself not to have it, because if I have that, I'm relying on the hardware to tell the story. But I can tell the story with my phone, you know, but without making it look like it's being told on a phone, because I don't want to use that as an excuse.
No, I think you nailed it there, but you also said a lot of things in that time. So I agree with you that you don't need the most expensive stuff at the moment, especially if you're going to be creating on the internet. The story is more important than the equipment and being able to articulate that story. But when you spoke about originality, surely the more Donovan you are, the more original you are. So because Donovan Goliath there's only one Donovan Goliath.
Yes.
And the more you're able to be Donovan Goliath, there will be a natural authenticity in every product you put on.
Absolutely.
If that product is, there's, because I think that, and especially as comics, I mean, when you start on stage, there's this big push to not steal content, not replicate. What is there? There's a fancy English word. Not plagiarize anybody's content. So you become very, very fearful. And particularly in a small industry like ours was when we started, plagiarism is taken a bit too seriously, because beyond just your thought process for a gag, people started saying that no, you can't plagiarize a subject, which is
Oh,
nonsense,
yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
I do jokes on cars.
Yeah, you can't
You can't do car jokes.
I've got the car joke, man.
Yeah.
100%. I do the Madiba accent, was a big one in South Africa.
Yes.
Yeah. In terms of nobody else is allowed to do it, and then you go, no, but I'm going to put my spin.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
I think because Trevor is famously quoted by a lot of the older comics. Whether this is true or not, Trevor, you'll phone us and tell us. But famously quoted by Trevor saying, when guys would approach him to say, "I do guys gags on cars, you can't do it," and Trevor would go, "But yeah, but I will. Even if I was doing your gag, I'd be able to do it better than you." You know what I mean? Famously quoted. And I mean, when you watch the guy, you go, "Yeah, well, you're not wrong." I see how Nicholas is
No, I'm just letting Trevor know. I don't.
denying
I've
and putting him
never
in the fire.
said anything.
Talk to me about the happiness. I think as your friend,
Sorry, just before. I
Yeah.
just want to ask just one thing. Like with the acceptance and understanding, like you were saying, only in the last 3 years you've really accepted and understood who you are. Do you think that comedy played a big role in you finding who you are? Because I find that with myself, like who I was pre-comedy 12 years ago versus who I am now is a very different person. And that's because comedy has shown me a lot in the world and therefore
opened your eyes, yeah.
made it easier for me to accept who I am and where I am and what I do and the way I do things. So yeah, I think that's my question. Like,
It's a very good question. I like that, and without a doubt, I would never be where I am if it wasn't for comedy. Comedy, if you can get over that line, and a lot of people don't make it over that line.
No.
You know, you're dying a couple of times, it's
No.
not going too well, they give it all up.
100%.
But I've never been put in more vulnerable positions. I've never had to fight through those things. I've never had to really dig deep and not just rely on funny, but rely on psychology and interacting with humans and being charming and just being somebody that people feel like they can trust with their time and money. You know, Dave Levittson always said this to me. He's like, dude, the jokes are one thing, but you're going out onto a stage with people who may have had an argument on the way here, people who've paid for a nanny. There's like so much that has to happen before they sit down on that chair. You know what I'm saying? And now you're going to be in front of them for 20 minutes and you have to make these people forget about all those problems. That's what you have to think about, you know? And I love that so much because I think that can apply to life in general, you know? And it's taught me so much, you know, just about people, vulnerability, putting all of myself out there, really showing people who I am, introducing people to my thoughts and my ideas. There's all these little things, and I guess it's all centered around people, and I think we're in a fortunate position that we're able to,
Very.
control crowds and make
Very.
people sit and listen to people pay to listen to our crazy ideas
Yes,
and
yeah.
go with us on this journey. It's a beautiful thing. It's wonderful, and now being able to take that skill combined with the craft skill, that I learned in advertising, fuse the two, that becomes the original.
I think that that's such an important thing, because a lot of people think that they can just pick up a computer and do what you do.
Yeah.
And replicate your content. But I don't think anybody understands that it wasn't just growing up in Mthatha being the diamond in Transkei, the only white-looking kid at your Zingisa Comprehensive School. It wasn't just going to study design, something that was completely foreign to any of the kids in Mthatha. It wasn't just coming to Joburg and working for a big agency that taught you about perfection. It wasn't just stand-up comedy. It wasn't just a pandemic. It wasn't just getting married. It wasn't just having a child. It was all of those things. To wrap it up, I noticed a change in your happiness. I've noticed a change in your happiness. Like, I think for a long time, even you thought you were happy, but there was an incompleteness. And it's a very enjoyable thing for me, because although I think you're the happiest you've ever been, from the time that, so Nick and I met you. Nick and I start comedy on the 3rd of July 2011. We meet you a week later, the 10th of July 2011, on stage at the same underground at the comedy club. And the friendship essentially almost starts immediately from there. But you were always a jolly person. But there's a deep sense of happiness, a happiness that's not linked to what everybody quickly associates their happiness to: the type of house you live in, the type of car you drive, the type of bank balance you have, the type of selfie you and your family represent. It's a far more tangible happiness. Are you conscious of it? Is it something that we're just imagining? And when? Do you know if there was a moment when that happiness clicked into the gear it's now? Because all that time you were very clear. You always told me, I'm going to have a family, I'm going to have kids, I want these things. Is it because you have these things that you pictured? What is it? What's the magic to this, or the secret behind the happiness of Don? Are you happy? You can tell us the truth. If you're not happy, you can also be...
I'm very happy, but more importantly, I'm content. I think that's it, There was a period, I think for the longest time, where I felt a slight bit of frustration because I wasn't putting out and getting out what I wanted to get out. Whatever was sitting inside of me, whether those are ideas, whether those are thoughts that I just wanted to share. And I was procrastinating on it and overthinking it, and questioning it too much. And that was just weighing down on me. And as a result, maybe sometimes you build a false sense of happiness. Like you think you are, but are you really, are you really free? Are you really just content with who you are, with the way you look, how you are represented in the world, what people say about you? And maybe I wasn't, and I don't know when, I guess it clicked over, but I think I'm gonna go back to, you always said, and it's a great mantra, that happiness equals success.
Yeah.
And I flipped it once and went, but success equals happiness, and I was like, that's really all it is, because we've got a very skewed view of what success is supposed to be. And the problem with the way we view what success is supposed to be is it's a constant moving target. You buy an amazing car today, tomorrow there's a new version you've got to upgrade to it.
Tomorrow afternoon.
But I think it's also
Happiness is
understanding.
constant. Sorry.
No, I was going to say it's the understanding of your success, your level of success.
Perfect.
What is success
I love
to Nicholas?
that.
Yes. Because the car, yes, there's going to be a new car, but if I'm happy with the car that I have, I don't care how many other new cars, faster cars, bigger cars.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the thing, is that your success, yes, came as a part of your happiness, but I think they go hand in hand because they do equal each other. And I think what Jay and I are seeing is that the because for me personally, the Don I met on the 10th of July 2011 and the Don I see are two different people. Like 2011, Don was trying to be the hipster, the cool, trying to fit in.
Figuring it out, man.
And I feel like, so I think that life
So Nick never liked
experience. Not that I didn't like her.
Couldn't understand.
I was just
Who
like,
is
how
this?
much brow cream does this have at home? No, but like, so yeah. So for me, I think the success was inevitable when I look at you, and the happiness I think is shining through the success now. I think that the
Nice,
happiness,
I like that.
yeah, the happiness makes the success easier. I don't know if that makes sense in the world.
It definitely does, man. And this all comes with self-awareness. You know, all those things that seem so cheesy,
So airy-fairy.
stereotypical, you know.
Cliched.
Yeah.
Cliche,
Yeah.
that's the word. It's the self-awareness, it's understanding, like you were saying, you know, what
What's
does your
yours?
success look like actually, you know, because we all have a different view on what success looks like, and not relying on other people. Oh, in fact, you know, taking it all the way back, basically getting rid of an alter ego that you think you want society to see. The problem with building an alter ego or a facade is that you have to maintain it. But then it gets tiring because it doesn't always work in spaces. And then the second somebody, you know, sees a little, you know, chink in the armor or whatever, and they go, "Ay, Bob," and no, who's that person? It's probably you, you know.
Yeah.
And to let it all go and rebuild again is just so tiring. So I'm like, hey, man, you know, I just want people to know that this is who I am now, you know. You're going to see some crazy things. You're going to see some things that are so wild. But it's only because I'm trying to write the book I want to read,
And
man.
I like all the versions of the things you're going to see. I like all those people. So all the versions of Don, all the versions, so like for me, all the versions of Jason, and there are many, I love all of them.
And I mean, to bring it back to things that I guess, cliche, you know, I just want my daughter to be proud of me, man. I just wanted to tell her friends one day, man, see, that's my dad, man. And I want her friends to go, God, that's Sophia's dad. Wow.
Because you see,
You know?
you're far more humble than me. Because
Oh,
I don't want my kid to say. I want the other kids to already know. Hey,
Yeah.
Jason Goliath like you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I just want my daughter. You know what? I know we're going over time here, but this is a very great conversation. What's beautiful about having a baby, for me now, is I'm going to get to relive all the things that made me excited when I was a lighty that I've forgotten about because society has
All those
thrown me in a
firsts.
direction. It's all the firsts again, you know. Nature, colors, textures, you know, photography, you know, understanding that that's not just a tree.
Yeah.
How do we make this tree? How do we take it out of this world and capture this moment very quickly and make it look amazing? All those things which made me really excited, you know, when I was growing up. Gosh, I just remembered now when I did.
Gosh.
But,
Hey, Dad.
no, I love
That's
this.
dad language. Gosh is dad language.
You know, when I did photography at Tech, right? We still shot on film. There was no digital, right? Bro, you know when you come from a not so wealthy family, right?
Yes, no, exactly.
You're counting every single penny here.
Yeah.
Then you go and study this thing and they say, cool, you have to buy your film, but then you also have to buy the paper that you print it on, right? You know what that taught me and why now I appreciate photography. And if I take a picture of something,
Must be sure.
I take one pic.
No, but back then, you have to be sure.
But there, I had to be sure. So, and even now when I make content, it's all in my head already. I edit it before I press record.
For the first time.
It's
I
in
know
my
that
head.
about you,
You know what I'm saying? And that thing made me appreciate process and craft and fall in love with how things work. Because sometimes we rely, it's full circle moment, we're going back to that thing of relying on the hardware or what the tools are to do the work for you.
Yeah.
But there's something beautiful about being able to craft and tell that story in your head and allow the tool just to capture the moment and express it. And being able to start that whole journey again with my lighty is just such a beautiful thing for me. I'm like, man, I'm the luckiest person in the world that I can do this, you know. That's it, man. It's so simple, right? But
Don is happy, basically. How many more trying to say?
I don't know, maybe 2 more. Maybe 2.
Oh, but he did say he can have anything he wants. Just anything.
You can afford. Don't just be having more.
Don't just have 3 children.
Don't know yourself. Know yourself. Your budget and your condoms must be.
If somebody is listening to this and you're like a young person who, you know, wants to learn and wants to just be put through your paces, please just hit me up, because I'm struggling to find that person, you know. If you're listening to this and it inspires you and you go, you know what, willing to grind, willing to do what this person does, because I feel like we've lost it.
No, because people
Like
are
we've
entitled
You feel like
now.
society have lost it?
I feel like a lot of young creative people, unfortunately, have been distracted. That's the word, by too much content.
Yeah.
And the ease
With which it's done.
exactly, and it's too easy to access that content. And I'm going to keep bringing the library up, but the library is pivotal in my life, because whenever I walked in there, I needed to know exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah.
It's not like searching on Google.
Yeah.
You can't just go, and you have to. It has to be so specific.
I use that as an analogy, as when you're going to have a conversation with David Kibuka, you have to treat him like a library. Because if you don't know what you're looking for, you'll spend your whole day reading about things that don't interest you.
Yeah.
Unless you go there looking for something specifically, you'll find the things that interest.
Exactly.
I think my favorite takeaway is don't rely on the tools, because I think that's also a problem. Everybody wants the new phone, the fastest camera, the biggest
the
what,
filters.
the thing. So
Your story, your lived experience is the most original thing you have. Nobody has appreciated the things that you have in the order that you have done it, and the skill and confidence and vulnerability it takes to take all of those things and share them with the world over and over and over again is how you create that original Jason Goliath, Nicholas Goliath, whoever it is.
You're watching The Happiness Economy with Nicholas Goliath and Jason Goliath and our unbelievable guest, Donovan Goliath. Unbelievable. Unbelievable guest, Donovan Goliath. Praton.
Thank you, man. This is a great conversation. I loved this so much. This is also probably the most heartfelt conversation we've ever had.
Yeah.
We've
Wasn't
never
just about
gone
the
down.
jokes.
No, we've never gone down this route before. And this is great. It was a very mature conversation, and I loved everything about
Love
it.
you, boy.
Love you too.
Because
Love
we've
you.
also changed.